So thanks a lot, Amrita, for that very warm welcome and wonderful introduction to Khaki Labs. I am fascinated by this concept of heritage walks and various activities that you guys do. Even, Manjula had great words for you. So maybe next time I am in Mumbai, I guess I'll make a visit or one of the walks with you, a part of my itinerary. Namaste, Shrimatri Namaha, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. So, Feminine Journeys of the Mahabharata, I am choosing to present to you 4 very distinct women, Shakuntala, Savitri, Draupadi and Rukmini. Of course, I know Draupadi is the most popular of them all, and she is the favorite of many creative writers, including me. I had written a book on Draupadi, and I'm not the first one. There were what in terms of Sanskrit we call Maharathi or Diggaj kind of writers wrote on Draupadi before me. But then the power of reimagination does not stop. So Draupadi holds that kind of sway among poets and storytellers, and almost same goes for Rukmini too. We all remember her with great fondness. We'll see more about her. And also Shakuntala and Savitri. We'll look at how they make this epic special and how we may need to correct our own misconceptions about them so that we see the actual empowered women that they are. So let's start. Okay, yeah. So today's talk, we'll discuss about the resilient Indic feminine. Then we'll have a quick review of all the 4 stories of Shakuntala, Savitri, Draupadi and Rukmini. I promise I'll not bore you with a lot of known details. I know the audience of Khaki Labs would be really knowledgeable, so I'm not going to, take your time for granted. Then we look at each of the 4 women, the kind of choices they made, the kind of goals they had, and how they acted in their toughest moments, the all is lost moments, how they acted. And that is what makes them resilient, and that's what makes them relevant to our times as well as our future times. Right, so something about resilient Indic feminine, what I felt, what makes these women, right? So it's the knowledge of Shastras. These women do not start being illiterate or uneducated, depending, with respect to the knowledge of their times. Most of them, if not all, are well versed in Shastras. They may not have gone through the same kind of the very, the quintessential Gurukula system, but they would be taught by their fathers, mothers, aunts, and some of them would also go to Gurukulas and learn. Some of them would have teachers visiting them, like in case of Rukmini. But some way or the other, they are very well read, and this knowledge of the Shastras is what comes to their help in their times of need, and we will see how in the course of this talk. All of them have a connection to a higher cause. So I know, there is a lot of talk about empowerment of women, women's rights, and it has to be there. At the same time, it's very important for each of us, women as well as men, to connect our own individual selves to a cause that is bigger than us, and in the way we become indispensable part to something larger than us, then I think we respect finds us. We don't have to, demand for it. Respect finds us as we make ourselves indispensable by focusing on a higher cause. That's again my conclusion. And in the moment of duress, right? I know tough times make what we are. They make our core, the strong core. These women have courage, commitment, and most important of all, clarity. Because in a tough moment, when we lose clarity of where we stand, what is happening and where we need to be and what do we need to do to get there. If the clarity about these particular aspects is lost, that's where we falter. And even courage and commitment cannot help us that much if we don't have the clarity. And now we will look at these moments where these women have showed amazing level of clarity. So that's fine. Shall I go ahead? Yeah, it's just a precursor. We have, I know, a lot of, when I selected these four women, Shakuntala, Savitri, Draupadi and Rukmini, I have a habit of discussing the content of of my future talks with a select friend circle of mine. So even, each of them is very well read and looks at the Puranas and Shastras very deeply. And some of the responses were, why only these four women when Mahabharata is a treasure trove of, unknown women? Right. So I start with this unknown woman because I call her an unknown woman because we don't know what her name is. So she's not mentioned. She's just mentioned as a grahini or a housewife. Right. So there was a Brahmana called Kaushika. He was a rishi, for all practical aspects. And he's very well read. He has a great power of the power of his sadhana, right? So you learn the Shastras, you follow a certain ritual regime, and then you get some power as a result of that. Right? And Kaushika is a very well-read, powerful scholar. Now this Kaushika goes for a dip in the river, and he's a very austere person. He's not a person, who believes in, having a, huge house or a lifestyle, the grand lifestyle. He lives on a very meager resources because his focus is on, the spiritual path and all that. So he has his dip in the river, and the next part of his day is about taking bhiksha from the householders. So he's not supposed to have any of his own belongings. So he lives on something that the householders give him, and he's not supposed to desire for more. So this is something which he strictly follows. But just as he was stepping out of the river, he was passing under the tree, and there is a bird, a crane, which dropped on him. And the guy was really irritated. Just had a bath and came, and I'm just having my mind purified with all the mantras, and I'm about to start my day, and this stupid crane defiles me again. So he looks at that crane with a lot of anger, and the crane burns. Right? The crane burns to ashes. That's the power of his anger. And that's the first time Kaushika has realized his own power. A part of him is like really proud. Oh my, I mean, all my sadhana, all my tapasya, all my rituals are now, bearing fruit. Like my anger has consequence now. So, very smug and happy. He proceeds to his, maybe he has a bath again, but he proceeds to his next task of the day, that is seeking bhiksha from householders. So he stops at the first house and calls into the woman. I mean, by this time, the men of the household, might have left, and only the wives and mothers are there. Like, then they generally feed the brahmacharis or, sannyasis who come that way. So he says, asks Bhavati Bhikshan Dehi. Nobody comes out of that house. But he could hear. It's not like the house is empty. There is some activities happening. There is some, feminine voice. She was passing, she was giving instructions to servants or, something like that. There is activity happening in the house. So he thinks, okay, maybe my voice is not heard. So he calls louder. And still nobody came. Now, he's passing the time is passing. And, he's getting impatient. And now, remember, he has found his newfound, he has his newfound powers, the power of anger. Nobody can stand his anger. And he's like, okay, wait, let whoever lives in this house, let them come out and I'll show them that I'm not to be messed with. They can't ignore me. He keeps calling out, and at last, the woman of the house comes out. She's brought her, basket of food, her plate of food to give to this scholar. And then he's so irritated, and he looks at her with the same anger that he looked at, to the same angry gaze that he gave the crane, he gave her. And the woman smiles and says, you know what? I'm not a crane to get burnt by your angry gaze. And if you really want to harm me, you need to do much more sadhana than you have done till now. For a moment, no, Kaushika is shocked. He's like, how do you know? How do you know what happened? The river is practically on the other side of the city. She smiles and says, my dharma protects me. And if you want to know what is my dharma about, go to Mithila and meet this person called Dharma Vyadha. He will tell you the secret of my energy, my power. And yes, this beautiful story forms the precursor to one of the 56 Gitas in our source literature. And this Gita is called Dharma Vyadha Gita. It talks about the duties of a householder. So I know we are all popular, we are all conversant with the Bhagavad Gita, which is the song celestial told by Krishna to Arjuna, but there are 55 other Gitas along Mahabharata and other sources. So Dharma Vyadha Gita is one of the most important one. Those interested, you could look up the unabridged version of the Mahabharata and go through this source Gita. But it starts, the wonderful thing is that it starts with this nameless woman. Vyasa hasn't given us her name, but there is a strong message that the common woman, she commanded that kind of a power, that kind of a shield from even the anger of a rishi cannot harm her, because she held that kind of a sway over her own life, and she held that sway over the knowledge, and she is connected to a higher cause. And those who are so well connected to a higher cause, that is dharma, this harm cannot, the harm of anger, right? And so it's like she is busy in her routine, and this Kaushika is actually a disturbance or whatever in her routine life. So he is the one who is calling her out of her routine. So it is his duty to wait till she becomes free, right? It's the same thing that she tells him. So it's not, he can't feel entitled to her attention. That's about this nameless woman. And now let's go to, this is another way of talking about another way of proving, or another example for all of us to realize the feminine journey, that it was not all about some austerities or simplified life, or that submissive lifestyle, or something that we misunderstand the ancient women to be having. So let's go to the 4 journeys that we have talked about. The first woman, Shakuntala, right? And before I go on to the story, unmute and talk about what you know about Shakuntala. Anyone? Yeah, Anchal? Yes, Anchal.
Yeah. Hi, Sai. Apart from what is written already on the screen, the one
Hmm.
thing about Shakuntala that I remember is the fact that Dushyanta had given her the ring as a
Okay.
symbol. But when
Yes.
she was coming on her way to meet him, she lost that ring because she
Yeah.
put her hand in the water and it slipped out and it was swallowed by a fish.
Sure.
And then the fish was actually presented to the king, and when they cut it open, they found the ring. So,
Ring. Okay. So in between, I think, because I think Durvasa or somebody cursed Shakuntala because she was also like this other
absent
nameless woman.
minded.
She was
Yeah.
also absent-minded, and he cursed her that unless you show this ring to him, your beloved will forget you or something like that. And so then when she actually goes to claim her position of queen from and wife from Dushyanta, she doesn't have the ring to show, so he fails to recognize her, and then starts a journey where she gives birth to Bharata alone, and then there is a dramatic reunion at the end. Once Dushyanta finds this ring through some other, like as you said, some fisherman takes this ring back to the king. People were really honest then, uh, so that's the popular version of the story that all of you would have heard, right? Yeah. Now let's go to Veda Vyasa's story of Shakuntala mentioned right in the Mahabharata. So the popular version of this Shakuntala that we know is from a text called Abhignana Shakuntalam. Abhignana Shakuntalam is written by Mahakavi Kalidasa. Kalidasa is very popular for his very aesthetic metaphors. Right, his metaphors are something that nobody could replicate. The beauty of his metaphors. I mean, I know we may be running short of time to discuss Kalidasa's poetry, but so I'll stick to Vyasa for this talk. So coming to Mahabharata's Shakuntala, you'd be surprised to know the strength of Shakuntala that comes out in this scene. He is adopted by Maharshi Kanva, who is a Angi Rasa by birth. And I am taking these clans' name for a reason. Forget Shakuntala for the moment, and let us go to Rigveda. Around sometime before Shakuntala, there is an event called Battle of 10 Kings. So maybe after the talk, those who are interested, you may look up for the details. The Battle of 10 Kings happened between a Chandravanshi king, a Puru king called Sudasa, against a confederation of 10 kings. 10 kings belonged to Anudrihyu clan. And it is, to cut the long story short, the Sudasa was supported by Vasishtha, and these 10 kings were supported by some of the Bhargava clan rishis, not all the Bhargavas, but some of the rishis belonging to the Bhargava clan. Also, Vishwamitra was believed to be their supporter. But as luck would have it, Sudasa won this battle against those 10 kings, due to which all the those kings belonging to those Anudrihyu, maybe some of the Yadu Turvashu clans, they were out of the main northern region of India. So maybe in present day, they started settling down in maybe present day Afghanistan, Iran, and so on, those regions. And then, as the ancient Indian system, it's not like, once a victor wins the war, he doesn't try to, he doesn't try to force his way of life onto, people who he defeated, but he tries to assimilate their culture so that there is a more union of cultures that is formed. So that's how ancient India continued after this event. But how is that event connected to Shakuntala's story? Because Shakuntala was Vishwamitra's daughter, and Vishwamitra's allegiance was to those 10 kings, right? And Dushyanta belonged to the lineage of Sudasa. He's a Chandravanshi. He's the son of Aila, and they came from Sudasa. So they are enemies in a way, right? But when we see the first meeting of Dushyanta and Shakuntala, there are no traces of that hostility. They are taken by each other the moment they see each other. Love at first sight happens. And only when they are taken by each other, they consummate their marriage by the ritual of Gandharva Vivaha. Again, sorry for the deviation out there. There are different types of marriages that are recognized according to Manu. There are 8 kinds of marriages: the Brahma, Deva, Prajapatya, Manava, Gandharva, Asura, Rakshasa, and Pishacha. So in the best kind of marriage, that is Brahma Vivaha, the parents of the bride, and on this side, the parents of the groom, they are so much in sync with each other. The families are not dysfunctional. Parents know what is good for the son or the daughter, and what the daughter and son like, and they are so much in resonance with each other that when the parents choose a life partner, right, there's no way that the bride or the groom does not like it. So that talks about the openness as well as the synchrony between the parents and the children. So when individual families exist in that kind of an ideal state, right? So 2 families existing in that kind of an ideal state where parents don't go against their child, as well as the child respects the parents back. So the choices of both happen to be one, right? So in that ideal state, when 2 such ideal families meet in a union, that is Brahma Vivaha. So it's said that the Brahma blesses. And then it comes down in, in somewhat of a descending order of this ideal state. We'll not go into the details of everything. So then comes the Gandharva Vivaha, right? The Gandharva Vivaha does not have parents and families of the bride and groom, having any stake. The choice is made by the bride and the groom, and they don't think it is very necessary to tell parents because of various reasons. Maybe the parents won't agree. Maybe there are other pressing reasons. It may be anything, but the groom is very sure, the bride is very sure, so they consummate their marriage, and such unions are blessed by the Gandharvas. So that's why it is called Gandharva Vivaha. And then comes, the Asura Vivaha, where financial transactions happen along with the marriage. So yes, when you see discussions on dowry happening, or when you see the other side demanding dowry, maybe it's a safe thing to ask them, do you want Asura Vivaha? I mean, you don't want Brahma and the Devas to bless this wedding or something like that. So that was that's just in jest on my part. So yes, Shakuntala and Dushyanta, they united on the basis of this Gandharva Vivaha. And Dushyanta promises her, okay, maybe we did not have the union in an ideal manner. And if I now wait for your father to return and say, see, I and your daughter, we are united by marriage, so I'll take her. It doesn't feel good. And I'm a king also. I'm not a normal person, to do this. I'm a king. So I should go back. I should prepare my kingdom, my family, saying your queen is about to come. I should prepare the palace and, for your stay, and, I should do all these preparations, and then I shall send someone to get you to my capital. So Shakuntala believes and says, okay, I'll wait for you. Now comes the actual difference between Abhignana Shakuntalam and Vyasa's Mahabharata, where Dushyanta does not come back. We don't know the reasons. Was there a war? Was there something else? We don't know. Vyasa doesn't tell us the reasons, but the fact is that he doesn't come back. Shakuntala discovers that she's pregnant with Dushyanta's child. She confides with her father. Then her father says, fine, you stay back here. You give birth to your child, and we'll see. Maybe there is a war. Maybe there are pressing reasons, and wars can happen, go on for years if that is so. So let's be patient. Let's wait for him. He's a man from a very huge lineage, big lineage. So let's give him that benefit of doubt. And look at the fact here. It was not a taboo, right? So Shakuntala gave birth to Bharata in Kanva's ashrama itself. And then for Dushyantara did not come back even after childbirth. Then Kanva and Shakuntala decided, you know what, let us finish Bharata's education. Let us not, maybe there is a pressing reason, or there is a reason why, Dushyanta changed his mind. But if he has, whatever is the reason, it is not safe to expose Bharata right now. Let him learn, let him finish his education, and then you can go and claim your rightful place and his rightful place. And Bharata finishes his education, and that's when Shakuntala takes Bharata to Dushyanta's capital. And then she claims, yes, you made me tall promises. You told me you'll make me queen. You told me that my son would be your heir and things like that. And you never came back. That's when Dushyanta, for reasons unknown to us, reasons that Vyasa did not, chose not to mention, says, I don't remember you. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. So I don't know who, I mean, I know you say that you are the daughter of Vishwamitra, you're adopted daughter of Kanva and all. Maybe you are just somebody who is behind my kingdom. Who is just enamored with the riches and all that I have, and you want to become the queen, and you want to just enjoy this life, right? The luxurious life of a queen. So you're making this up. And then Shakuntala lashes out. I mean, I was merely trying to remind you of the promises you made me. And do you think I need your stupid kingdom? My father is Vishwamitra. He created a whole universe for Trishanku. And if I invoke him, if I really needed a kingdom, why would I come and sleep with you? I would tell my father that I need a kingdom. He would make a whole universe for me, right? A parallel universe. I can be the lord of the lady of that universe. And my mother, you are telling me that, I come from some low background or something. My mother is Menaka. Yeah, she may be a dancer, but she dances in front of Lord Indra. She dances in front of Lord Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva. Her social circle is up there, and whatever is your spiritual power, or, whatever the riches and your status that you speak about, you can't even see my mother. Right? And that is my status. I just came to you so that you get the opportunity to stand by your word. You get the opportunity to save your honor, not, don't worry about my honor. It is up there. Right? So you have this is the last opportunity. Either you honor your word, or I'll find my own ways of making my son your heir. That is in Vyasa's poetry, it seems really nice and soft, but that is Shakuntala actually threatens Dushyanta. And at those words, Dushyanta realizes, and like that momentary transformation happens, and he accepts Shakuntala and Bharata back, right? Because maybe he doesn't want to be the person who restarted that rivalry all over again. Right? And once he restarts that rivalry, if Shakuntala goes back to Kanva and Vishwamitra saying that this person did not keep up his word, and the whole ancient rivalry breaks away, and Dushyanta would be on the wrong side of Dharma. Sudasa was on the right side of Dharma, which is why he won. But this, if he lets Shakuntala go now, he would be on the wrong side of Dharma, and gods will not bless him like they blessed Sudasa historically, and which is why Dushyanta accepts Shakuntala. So that's That's Shakuntala. When, her knowledge of the Shastras, and one of my really favorite shlokas of the Mahabharata, she tells Dushyanta, she also lectures about the importance of wife. And you got me in the form of wife, and you know the importance of wife. She says, Ardhabharya Manushyasya Bharya Sreshthatama Sakha, Bharya Moolam Trivargasya Bharya Mitram Arishyata. This wife is a man is just half of himself without a wife. So wife is a half of man, and wife is the best friend. Wife is his best friend, right? And if there is any other best friend than wife, it means that there is something wrong with the marriage, right? Bharya Sreshthatama Sakha, Bharya Moolam Trivargasya. Wife is the source of Trivargas, Dharma, Artha, and Kama. And Bharya Mitra Marishyatama, wife becomes a partner in the pursuit of moksha. So this is the shloka that talks about the importance of wife that Shakuntala lectured Dushyanta here, and after which, after the whole drama unfolds, Dushyanta accepts Shakuntala and Bharata, and Bharata becomes the next Chakravarti of this country, and the story proceeds. So this is there in, I think, the Sambhava Parva, the Adi Parva of Mahabharata. So you can go and check back any unabridged version of the Mahabharata for this beautiful story, for this courageous woman that Shakuntala was. And next comes Savitri. I know we are running short of time. I'll try to make it fast. So she is the daughter of the king of Madra, Ashwapati. In the times of Mahabharata, where the Pandava Kauravas happen, Nakula and Sahadeva are daughters of another princess of Madra, Madri. Right? So, like Madri, Savitri was also a princess of Madra during times that are before those of Pandavas and Kauravas. Right? And Savitri was born to Ashwapati after his very strong and very intense worship of Lord Surya in the form of Savitra. So, which is why he names the daughter born to him as Savitri. And true to her name, Savitri is so well versed in the Shastra. Her education actually, illuminates her so much that one day Ashwapati calls her and says, I know your education is complete and it is high time I got you married. But Savitri, whenever I see or meet a prince or a young king and talk to them, I feel like they don't even have half the knowledge of what you have. And I don't want to give you to a person who is unworthy of you. But at the same time, I worry if, is it my bias as a father or my attachment to you that is coming in the way, and or is a part of me making up excuses to not get you married and send you away. So I don't want that biased father to come in. So why don't you make a choice? So you take chariot, horses, you take soldiers with you, you travel across the land, you meet princes, you meet kings, maybe rishis if you are interested in the path of knowledge. You meet all the suitable men that you find are worthy of your hand. You make a selection, you come back with the decision, and I'll go with whatever you decided. So just let us pause here and think how many fathers in the 21st century have this courage as well as trust on their daughters, as to say, go out and get your guy, I'll bless you, right? So Ashwapati sent Savitri with that trust. The trust was on her education and on her knowledge, and that trust that she wouldn't demean herself by choosing somebody unworthy, right? And still, Savitri manages to surprise him because she meets big kings, princes of, huge kingdoms. But at the end of the day, she settles for somebody called Satyavan, who is the exiled prince of Shalva, which is a neighboring country of Madra, right? So she doesn't want to marry somewhere too far. But she is not enamored with the riches, with the prosperous kingdoms, and what all those princes and kings have to offer her. But she's enamored by Satyavan, who is a prince in exile, who is serving his blind parents who were thrown away by an enemy, right? Who were blinded and thrown away, thrown out of their own kingdom by an enemy king. And Satyavan is just serving his parents. And Savitri was totally, she had fallen for him. So at first, Ashwapati is really, it's like, what? I mean, I thought you would really select one of the greatest kings and become the queen of a great empire. And why, of all the people, why Satyavan? So there is a symbolic, this one, Satya stands for truth and Savitri stands for light, and truth and light, they exist together. They can't go without each other. So that's the symbolic, this one of Satyavan and Savitri. And but then Ashwapati has promised her, right, that he will stand by her decision. So he sends a word to Dyumatsena, who is the father of Satyavan. And more than Ashwapati, these two are shocked as to what made Savitri choose my son. So Dyumatsena is like, are you totally sure she chose Satyavan? Do you remember that, we are in exile. We don't have much to offer her. There is no palace. There is no, forget palace. There is no luxurious home that is fit for her. And Ashwapati says, no, yeah, I agree, but she is quite sure about it. Then Dyumatsena says, okay, palace and things and luxuries apart, my son is under a curse that he will not live for more than a year after his marriage. Then even after that knowledge, Savitri was committed. She made a choice. She is not going to waver from it. She marries Satyavan. And on a fateful day, she knows that she has to keep Satyavan safe. So she goes with Satyavan when he's going to cut wood. And at that point, he feels tired and he rests, keeping his head on Savitri's lap. And that's when Yamadharmaraja comes to claim Satyavan's life. And Savitri engages him in this wonderful, wonderful debate that is something which should be just read and appreciated. And I think one reading cannot do justice to, we have to keep on reading again and again and find newer meanings of how Savitri engages with Yamadharmaraja. He says, why? You are a young woman, you can remarry, a better king and live a better life. And why are you coming behind me? Now I will leave the realm of men. I'll go to the realm of Pitrus, realm of Pishachas. I don't know what all. And, that's not a place for a woman like you to follow me. And then, Savitri says, yeah, I'm not afraid because I'm not this, in a very long story cut short way I'm saying. Savitri says, I'm not afraid because I'm not this body. So basically, she's spiritually so exalted that at each point, Yamadharmaraja gets impressed and he keeps giving her boons. You know what? You are a very wise woman, but I think you should go back. Ask me for something other than Satyavan's life. I'll give you that, and you go back and have a good life. Then she asks for her in-laws' kingdom to be returned. Then she also knows that she's the only daughter of her father, and her father needs an heir for that kingdom of Madra to prosper. So she asks for a younger brother to be born to her parents, and at last she asks for the boon of motherhood. And Yamadharmaraja, he's in his spree of giving whatever she asks. He's so impressed by her that, okay, whatever she asks other than Satyavan's life, right? I'm done giving. Yeah, you want to become a mother? Yes, Tadhastu. And then Savitri says, yeah, you blessed me that I would become a mother. And for that, I need my husband back. And that's when Yamadharmaraja realizes that, he's been very wonderfully tricked by Savitri. So he laughs and blesses Savitri and gives back Satyavan's life. And, Savitri and Satyavan go back and they find that their kingdom is given back to Dyumatsena. And of course, so the two kingdoms prosperously, peacefully stay because, they flourish because of this one woman impressing none other than Yamadharmaraj, right? She basically converted a threat into an opportunity. She just did not save the life of her husband, but she got back her father-in-law's kingdom also. So that is Savitri, who invokes her knowledge, her spiritual knowledge. Her spiritual knowledge was useful in getting back materialistic wealth also. Right? That is such a wonderful thing to contemplate upon. Yeah, I know now, I won't spend more time introducing the story of Draupadi. We know that she had the most unusual marriage, getting married to the 5 Pandava brothers. Right. And here I must add, I had quite some trouble choosing a very appropriate picture of Draupadi. I didn't want to show her in the Dyuta Sabha, that, that kind of a woman. She was truly an empress. And this is a painting by Year artist called Vadadi Papaya, who used to do the illustrations for our legendary Chandamama magazine. So yes, Draupadi, again, in spite of being the most popular woman character from Mahabharata, her story is also shrouded by so many myths and misunderstandings, right? So when one studies the Mahabharata with a focus on Draupadi, yes, let me make the connection there. We talked about Savitri. Do you know where the story of Savitri comes? So it comes from Vanaparva. Vanaparva, Rishi Markandeya, he meets the Pandavas and he tells this to Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is sad over some incident. Of course, he's sad that he lost the kingdom. He's sad that it is his mistake that made them lose the kingdom. And he's even sadder that Draupadi is going through so many hardships. So, so Yudhishthira is like really sad. And then Markandeya tells 2 stories to Yudhishthira to console Yudhishthira. One is Ramopakhyana, which is Rama's story. There are slight differences from the Valmiki Ramayana here. And then there is then he tells them the story of Savitri. And now compare these 2 stories, right? In Ramayana, in Ramopakhyana, it is Rama who comes to protect Sita, save Sita. And in Savitri's story, it is Savitri who saves Satyavan. And then Markandeya gives the statement. I know, when Jayadratha tried to kidnap and molest Draupadi, you guys went and saved her, right? And remember the fateful incident of dice? That's when you were totally powerless. It was Draupadi's intervention that changed the course of things. Right? So she was being Savitri to you there, and you were playing Rama to her here. And that's how life is. Stay with each other, and you'll regain your kingdom back. All in due course of time. Things happen. So that's the beautiful story of balance. Ramopakhyana as well as Savitri told together to the Pandavas, saying in realistical mode, a husband has to step up when wife needs him, a wife has to step up when husband needs her. Both of them being right all the time doesn't unfortunately happen. So when your partner is in the moment of his distress or in the wrong moment, he or she needs you to step up and stay committed and see both through this moment of distress. That was Markandeya's message, which actually, as I was reading Vanaparva, this actually made me go back and read the Dyuta Parva, right? In the Sabha Parva, where Dyuta is the part, because it gave a new perspective. And I discovered before writing my own book, Draupadi, that the way visuals are played in our minds through popular adaptations is something, is ghastly, where, Draupadi is dragged into the court. They try to, try to disrobe her. Then Krishna comes and saves her by giving some endless sari, and then, a whole lot of drama unfolds. Of course, Vyasa's Mahabharata also, mostly says this, except that in the critical edition, there is no mention of Krishna coming and, giving her some endless sari. But what happens is this: Dushasana drags Draupadi to the court. And Draupadi asks this question of how valid is my wagering? There she did not lose her mind about her head about, such a distressing incident happening. She's arguing the validity of that wager. So if Yudhishthira lost himself before wagering me, it means that he does not have the right to wager me. Right? And nobody had an answer to her question. So, all those men, they resorted to personal innuendos, and, Karna said something like, this woman doesn't even have the right to wear those expensive silk saris, and, disrobe her and whatever, some horrible things. She said, I don't want to review those horrible things, and then Dushasana, pulled her sari off. It's just that at that moment, even when he pulled her sari off, there was another garment that covered Draupadi, and that shocked people out. And that's when, Draupadi sensed that, now is the moment that I question them even more harder. And she talks about, she tells Dhritarashtra that, my husband Yudhishthira is not well versed in this game. And just because your sons don't have the courage to face my husbands in a battle, you resorted to this game. And sensing their moment of weakness, you snatched away their kingdom, and you snatched away our kingdom, and you are letting this happen, right? Letting this whole ordeal happen. And that's when, of course, Vikarna, there is only the one of the 100 Kauravas who supports Draupadi's claim. Yes, yep, this is not right. Whatever happening is not right. Vidura comes to Draupadi's help, saying, yes. So when such a ghastly incident like disturbing a woman in a court happens, it's a sin, it's a papa. But King Dhritarashtra, only 25% of this sin goes to Dushasana. And 25% of the sin goes to all of us who are quiet. And 50% of the sin goes to you, the king, who is letting it happen. Right? And that's when then one or the odd rishis who are there, they support Draupadi. So it's kind of not totally right to say that nobody came to Draupadi's aid. It is just that the shocking incident, it just happened very so quick that nobody had that, everybody was actually shocked, and before they could react, a lot happened, and Draupadi compelled them to support her. So one by one, she built dissent in the court of Dhritarashtra, in the court of the enemy. She built dissent, and she built it on a very intellectual foundation, right? And Dhritarashtra had no answer to her question. So then he says, what, a lot of, whatever happened, it was really, really shameful. Draupadi, you are my favorite daughter-in-law. And, Kuru Vamsha is so fortunate to have you as their daughter-in-law. Your father, Drupada, is so fortunate to have you as a daughter, and a long praise in her honor. And then he says, please forget that, whatever happened today, you ask me whatever you want, I'll give you. And the first thing Draupadi asks for is free Yudhishthira from the slavery. You made him your slave because of some stupid dice game. You free. I don't want to be called a slave's wife. I don't want my son to be called as a slave's son. So you free him. Then that's a given. That's a given. You ask for something more. Then she says, free the rest of my husbands, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, free them and give them back their weapons. Right? So now Then Dhritarashtra says, yeah, that is also done, but that's not enough. Ask something more. And she says, yeah, Brahmana's wife can ask for one favor from another man. And a Kshatriya wife can ask for two favors, right? And a Vaishya wife can ask for three favors, and a Shudra wife can ask for four favors, right? So I have asked two of my favors, and I actually don't need a favor now. My husbands are free, their weapons are back with them. Something else is remaining, they'll do the job, right? So that's the courage of Draupadi. That's the trust that she had on her husbands, even in that moment, where one would be really, really angry with your husband if he did that way for you. She was angry. To look at her actual anger on the Pandavas, we should read the first part of Vanaparva. It's not that she's not angry. It's just that in that moment she did not let anger cloud her clarity. She knew that Pandavas messed up and messed it up real big. But if she loses it now, then all is truly lost. So that is the clarity, courage, as well as the knowledge that Draupadi had at that moment of, the all is lost moment, where she saved her husbands. They couldn't save her, but she saved them from a life of slavery, which is something that Markandeya very cleverly reminds the Pandavas with the story of Savitri, saying, yeah, just be there for each other this way and you will get back your kingdom very soon. So that's about Draupadi. And let's go to my personal favorite, Rukmini. Like we talked about 8 kinds of marriages that Manu says, right? In these marriages, the first 4, that is Brahma, Deva, Prajapatya, and Manava, right? They don't have any, they don't force the woman or even the man for that matter into the alliance. Then comes Gandharva, right? Gandharva doesn't exactly force a woman, but there may be some kind of, like, say, Dushyanta, right? She made all false promises and tried to cheat the woman. Had it not been Shakuntala, had it been some other normal woman with, who is not a daughter of, Vishwamitra or Menaka, we don't know what would have happened. There is a chance of deception happening, right? And Rakshasa Vivaha is basically forcing a woman, forcibly taking a woman out of her actual marriage or, from her natal family and carrying her off and marrying her. So that's the Rakshasa Vivaha. Asura Vivaha has, this kind of financial transactions happening, buying the groom, buying the wife, that. And Paishachika Vivaha, which is technically rape. And all these four vivahas, they are not blessed by, they are not sanctioned in the sense they'll be recognized, but they are not sanctioned. There is a difference, right? So when somebody goes and tells Purohit saying, yeah, I'm planning to kidnap that woman, so will you perform our marriage? No Purohita will say yes, who is true to his knowledge, because this is a marriage, you're marrying her without her consent, and this is not a union that is going to be blessed by gods. So I am not going to officiate your marriage. But then something, when something happens, something has already happened and nobody has saved that woman, her children will have equal rights of their father's property or whatever, or lineage, everything that a normal wife's children would have. So that recognition Manu has given, but they have prohibited any kind of marriage that happens. They have discouraged all kind of marriages that happen without the consent of the bride or even the groom. So when Rukmini's marriage was fixed with Shishupala, right, it did not have Rukmini's consent. So had God forbid, but had a marriage happened like that, without the bride's consent, if the bride was forced into a union, that would have been paishachika. Only pishachas would bless only ghosts and, ghouls would be blessing such a union. None of the, not even men would be, allowed to bless that kind of a union. But, this kind of shastric relevance of the woman's consent was forgotten by her brother, Rukma, who was trying to force her into that marriage with Shishupala. So Rukmini is very clear here as to my brother is committing a wrong thing and I don't have to. So this kind of, it's not about going against the family. It is about not bowing down to an authority when you know that you are right. Rukmini knows that she is right. So nothing comes between her and what is right. And she made the choice of choosing Krishna as a groom. And she writes this wonderful, wonderful letter to Lord Krishna as to why she chose him. And then in that, she gives instructions as to how to come and take her, right? She has everything planned out. Like there is this Gauri Puja ritual happening. This temple is almost on the outskirts. There the security would be low. Then that would be the right time for you to come and take me away. You don't have to really storm into the center of the city where the security would be high. So all this kind of strategic thinking was going on, in Rukmini's mind. She's not just another lowlorn, submissive wife of Krishna, as she's, portrayed in many popular versions, but she's a strategician who really deserved a strategician like Krishna. Right. So that is about Rukmini. Of course, we are deeply running out of time, I guess, to delve into the details of Rukmini's life. But let me say that once Rukmini, a lot of forced marriages were happening around that time of Mahabharata. A lot of forced marriages, a lot of marriages which were taking place only for political reasons, with no importance given to a bride, the bride's consent or the bride's wishes. So a lot of marriages, and a lot of marriages were engineered by a tyrant called Jarasandha. And Jarasandha is an enemy of Krishna because Krishna killed Kamsa, who is a son-in-law of Jarasandha. The guy gave his own daughters to a person like Kamsa because it politically benefited him, right? So as the king of Magadha, he had enmity, or, he didn't want the Kurus to get very powerful at Hastinapura. So he found the Mathura is a Yadava settlement. It is quite close to Hastinapura, not very close, but yeah, other side of the river kind of this one. But, and if Kamsa grows powerful, Kurus will have an enemy right in the middle of their own kingdom. Right? So he, in an attempt to weaken his enemy, he could give his own daughters in marriage to a person like Kamsa. Right? That is Jarasandha, who uses, who could use his own daughters as a tool. Someone else's daughters won't matter to him. So he started engineering such an alliances. One such alliance was Rukmini's wedding with Shishupala, which did not happen thanks to Rukmini's courage as well as clarity. So she eloped with Krishna and the scene changed. Right after that, Draupadi's wedding happened to the Pandavas. So the whole power structure in ancient India changed because of this one marriage. And a lot of princesses started rebelling against these political marriages. And, most of them married Krishna because Rukmini showed them the way. And other princesses also, they started demanding that, they needed that Swayamvara was their right. So that kind of a change was brought by Rukmini's marriage. And we all know what happens later. But these are, let me end my talk here saying that these are the characteristics of these very powerful women. When they stood up for themselves, also they had a greater cause in mind. And when they stood against their own families, they had a greater cause in mind. And this great cause, the dharma or whatever, is the word that we use. Dharma is my favorite word. So that comes from their education into the Shastras. And they had the courage to engage, debate, and prevail in that debate. So that is the journey of ancient Indic feminine to me. And I know, Farji, I'm so sorry for taking
No,
up
no,
so much
not at
time.
all. It was fascinating to hear these lesser known stories. Thank you for that. So what is your take on why these stories are relevant today in this day and age? When
So
everyone
this,
talks about freedom and equality,
yes, yes.
which
So
many people take as given, what is the relevance of these stories and what must one learn from them today?
So my take is that freedom and equality are really important. So we should keep talking about them. But it is just that the story doesn't end with freedom and equality. It is freedom and equality are the means, not end, to a higher cause. That is, maybe maintaining the balance, maintaining the order, maintaining, whatever I'm not using very politically correct words, but so the choices that we make, I think, as individuals, not just women, but men also, all the genders, choices that we make should contribute to a better world.
You mentioned when you began that Indic women were generally learned in the Shastras and they knew
Yes.
and they had a great amount of knowledge. Would you say that would be true only of a certain strata of society, or was that all pervasive?
So it's like, the education system of those days was more organic than, say, organized. Right. And now consider somebody from subaltern or whatever, background. Consider somebody from, say, a butcher's daughter. For that, Dharma Vyadha was a butcher. He had so much knowledge that he coached
Yes.
Kaushika about. So, say the life ahead, right? There is something that there are some skill sets that are required to survive the life ahead. Unless she's totally, like, what do you say? Totally, she's not into the surroundings that she was brought up with. Say, one example I can remember is Satyavati. Right? Satyavati was brought up by a fisherman.
Yes.
So there was, her access to education itself, like, in the natural thought process, nobody would think that, she needs to be educated in all the 4 Vedas.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't come, but yeah,
Yeah.
she needs to know fishing to survive. That's that is something that her father can teach her. But it's in her own calling. Like she got to meet this Rishi Parashara. Right. Of course, 4 Vedas might not have existed in her time because she birthed Veda Vyasa, who compiled Vedic knowledge into. So, but she started meeting Parashara, and to actually have a union with a woman like Satyavati, something should have attracted a learned rishi like Parashara, right? So, we can see that it is not, when a person actually shows that interest and seeks out knowledge, I won't say it will be straight away given, but there is a whole journey that will actually elevate that person, like in the case of Satyavati.
Yeah, correct.
So,
There's a question from Sai Parash. He wants to know, is there any spiritual or dharmic interpretation of Draupadi having 5 husbands, apart from the normally known story?
the very popular spiritual interpretation is about, I would say, it's not just Draupadi and Pandavas, it's a triad of Draupadi, Pandavas, and Krishna. So we have, as a body, we have 10, say, organ is not the right word, but the 5 sensory organs and the 5 action organs, I would say, the karmendriyas. the 5 Jnana Indriyas and 5 Karma Indriyas, and Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, that forms the mental core. Right? That's how Hinduism understands a person as. So the 5 limbs that do the action, that are very important. We can't do any karma, any action without those 5 limbs, and those are represented by the Pandavas, while Draupadi represented the mental core, that is the Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chitta was represented by, these 4 were represented by Draupadi, and the Jnana, the knowledge of what is right and what is wrong, was represented by Krishna. So there is a Ichha Shakti, right? You need, I read Srimatre Namaha from Sai Praharshji, so I'm, getting into Shaktism a bit. So there is, we worship goddess as Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. So the Draupadi is the Ichha Shakti. She decides what has to be achieved, while Krishna says the how. And the onus of actually fructifying that whole thing stands on the Pandavas.
Okay.
So
somebody wanted to know a little more about your course at Oxford, the certificate course on the Puranas. Is it a course? And Rugved said he is interested in joining up for it.
Okay. So I did it very long ago. Rugvedji, I think Oxford has added a number of courses after that, just not the Puranas. I would suggest the course on the Mahabharata itself, though I could not follow it. I mean, I heard good things about that course about Mahabharata. Puranas was good, except that there was a lot of focus only on the Bhagavata Purana, which was done very well. I personally expected a bit more. Bhagavata Purana is very popular for us, so I expected a bit more focus on the lesser known Puranas, which did not happen. But the faculty who taught us was quite, quite grounded and quite knowledgeable. So I would say, you can try out. I'll say you try out the course on the Itihasa before, first, and then you can decide on the other courses.
Anshul says she would like to know more about Gandhari, and if you could tell us what she means to you.
So Gandhari hasn't received her due. Yeah. Okay. One thing is, everybody received their due in Mahabharata. I venture that statement, because whatever happened to each person had, is a result of a whole chain of events where even that person had been a party, right? Gandhari is a Shiva Upasika, is a great worshipper of Shiva, and Shiva's boons in the Mahabharata are something else to for people to observe, because without the kind of boons that he gave each character, I don't think the story would have moved forward itself. So Shiva gave this boon of 100 sons to Gandhari, right? And we don't see Gandhari talking about what kind of sons they should be, right? So that's where Gandhari faltered, because she was a great woman, born to a great family. She would have taken it for granted that my sons would be as good as me. But the mistake or error that she did was to stop herself from seeing what is happening, right? Say her devotion to her husband, being a wife, I think she, the mother in her did not get, the full active participation, because she was so busy being a wife, and we all know what happened. But that is not to say she's any less great or anything like that, because at last it was her curse to Krishna that brought the whole Yadava clan down, right? So that anguished mother, we see the power of a mother there in Gandhari. But except that, yes, I feel she should have been a better mother, and she was that knowledgeable, she had that power, she held the sway, and she could have been, it's not like she was some helpless woman, right? So she could have been a better mother, and a lot of undesirable incidents would have been, avoided had she played a better mother.
Thanks. One more question is about what is the relevance of the curses which are given so lavishly by the rishis? What was the significance of the curses?
So it's a belief, Farokji, that rishis are somebody who are very much in sync with the universe, with the past, present, and future. That the boons as well as the curses they give, they would actually lead to different journeys that will in long term bring back the balance in the world. So any curse of any rishi will, that's actually what we storytellers call it, game-changing moments. So whether it's a boon or curse, it happens for a moment, and it actually forces that person to go through a very transformative journey.
So similar to the question which you just answered, what is the logical or scientific explanation for people being born through fire?
Or the
1916 question.
Yes, so Jyotsna, right? So I think I'll not venture any scientific explanation here, because we can try. There have been people who have tried this test tube and I don't know what all, but
Excuse me.
Sorry.
This is Jyotsna. If I may just interrupt, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. That was really, my question was slightly different. It was, do you have a comment on this completely unrealistic stories they have in Mahabharata, or are there more realistic versions also? Even the birth of Kauravas was such a science fiction kind of story.
I won't call it a science fiction. I'll definitely agree that it is supernatural. It's not a natural course of events. So they were not naturally born. I think rather than trying to rationalize that particular event, I think people who are not naturally born, right? They are born for a certain cause, either good or bad. The person who is, what do you say? The Ayonija. So the person not born of a yoni, right? Be it even Sita or Draupadi or, all these women born of fire. Fire is actually I think for me, it symbolizes, what do you say? Change, like, something that sets the course of events in a different direction, right? Fire symbolizes many things actually, but all the fireborn women, they had this, they took the story in their hands and they steered the story in a different direction. So that's how I would look at it. Rationalizing, I know many storytellers try to do them. I try to do a couple of rationalizing of my own, but sitting for a larger discussion like this, I would say better go with the symbolic meaning rather than the scientific part of it. That's
certain things are best not rationalized, right?
Yes, yes.
Two people actually wanted to know if they can hear your lectures online, or do you have a YouTube channel?
Okay, sorry. Thanks a lot. I don't have a YouTube channel. I do, but I, take the opportunity of unfolding whatever little I have learned on these wonderful platforms like Khaki. So yes, but thank you for that idea. Maybe in some future, I'll think of making these smaller videos and sharing. So thank you.
I think we are at the end of our time. Thank you so much. There are two compliments, both about the content as well as the pace. So thank you so much for agreeing to our invitation to talk. And we hope to have you again when you can talk about either this subject, which is definitely your passion, or any other subject that we may jointly decide on. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Farooqji. I enjoyed being here. I hope to come back when my next book comes.
Very good.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice weekend.